What's hot, my tamales? Spice Force, we got Justin here with his starter Broly deck. Justin, what you got?
Well, we got Broly today. Broly puts in a lot of work this format. He basically he can snipe things on board. He can play defensively and be very aggressive. But we'll get into that when we get to the deck list. First, we'll start off with our leader. His activate main skill lets you go and search for a one-drop Broly. Broly, listen to me. You can search your one-drop Broly, or you can go and search
Paragus.
your Paragus, so you can help search for any pieces that you're missing that you need from your hand. And then he has an awaken skill where he draws one and untaps one. On his leader back, his permanent, you can't have no more than 2 battle cards in play. Well, if you have 2 or more, you can't play anything else. But his sparking ability on his auto is when he swings, you draw up to 6 cards. So with you climbing up the chain with your Broly stuff, you're going to be fulfilling that pretty quickly. His other activate main, his activate main once per turn, you can send one of your battle cards from play to the drop area and target one of your opponent's cards and KO it. First, we'll start off with the Paragus package in the deck. We play 4 copies of Paragus Deadly Premonition. What this guy does is when he gets played from hand, you look up to the top 5 cards of your deck for a Broly BR and add it to your hand. So this is what you need to use to dig for your pieces, if you need pieces to dig for. His other auto is when he is sent by a skill to the drop area, you can untap an energy. So there's a card in here known as Wrathful Charge. You can basically just sack him off with that card and you basically play Wrathful Charge for free. Next, you play 3 copies of Paragus the Sacrifice. This is one of my favorite Paragus cards in the deck. Once your activate main, once per turn, you can choose another battle card in play outside of him and send it to the drop area and draw a card. So you can use it to get your chain started, or if you're like, I need some energy, so you can just sack off the other Paragus if he's in play. Next, we play 4 copies of Paragus Defending Father.
Look at those foils.
Yeah, thank you guys for that one. This is your super combo. He is the most broken generic green super combo in the game. You draw 2 cards and you warp one from your hand, and it's nuts. It's stupidly dumb. And then last one is 2 copies of Paragus Rampage Trigger. When he gets played, you search your deck for the Broly's mechanism and you activate it. And then you can send him and one other battle card in play to the drop area to either search your deck for a Broly VR, what is it, for 6 or less?
Yeah.
Or you go and you can search one from out of your drop area if you need it. Next, we'll get into the Broly engine. Throwing stuff everywhere. We play 3 copies of Broly Unrealized Ambition. When we first started testing this deck, we were playing 2, but then we bumped it up because there were several situations where you would end up with both of them in life, and by the time you got to them, it was already too late. But when he gets played from your hand, you take 2 cards from your life and add it to hand, and if he leaves the board for whatever reason, you take a life, and then you can after that play the 4-drop from your hand. To kind of support him a little bit, we play 2 copies of Ties That Bind Ba. Ba helps you if for some reason he gets hit in the graveyard off an effect. If you're playing his Janemba, he gets dumped. With this, you can also play around his first skill, which you need, which when you play him out of hand, you take 2 life. But if you're playing from the drop area, that doesn't occur. So once you do that, and then all you have to do is watch taking the 1 life whenever he leaves play until you can climb up your chain. Next, we play 4 copies of the 4-drop. The 4-drop has an activate main skill where you can choose 1 card. Well, activate battle. Excuse me. I'm tired, guys. Activate battle once per turn. You choose a card from your hand and you choose a battle card your opponent controls whose energy costs are 3 or less, and you KO it. So you can activate that on your turn on your swing if you want to get something out of the way, or during their turn when they're swinging on you. And his other skill, when he leaves play, You can discard 2 cards, and you can climb into your 6-drop. The 6-drop, much like the 4-drop, has the same permanent. The same skill effect, except he can pop any card so long as it doesn't have barrier. But he does bring along his permanent skill with him that when he attacks, your opponent cannot activate counter cards whose cost are 2 or more. And he also swinging it for double strike. And also, when he dies, you can discard 2 cards to play the 8-drop, which is Broly Limits Transcended. Much like the 6-drop, he's got double strike. He's got the exact same permanent, except his activate battle once per turn skill is he can KO battle cards ignoring barrier. So he gets around Gogeta and any other number of things that, like say, you can't swing on me. Well, you can't pop me.
So what happens when they get this guy off the board?
Well, when he dies, we play the spiciest card in the whole deck, and that is Broly, Ultimate Agent of Destruction.
That's money right there.
When one of your 7 cost or more battle cards leaves play, you can discard your entire hand, except for him, and play him on the board. And once he's out, it's generally speaking that your opponent's in trouble, especially if you're down to 1 life. He's got dual attack and he's got double strike, so he's swinging twice. But when he attacks while you're at 1 life, your opponent has to discard their entire hand on his auto. They can't do anything about that. It's going to go off even if they stop the attack. They just lose their whole hand. And even though you do lose your entire hand when playing him, the best part is that your leader, when he swings, you can just refill your hand back to 6. And next, we'll do the extra cards. We play 3 copies of Broly Control Mechanism. This card, you basically use this to sack your Broly because it can only sack Broly off the board and to draw a card, and then you just use that to activate your chain. Then we play 2 copies of Tragic Awakening. Didn't really feel the need to play any more than this because you don't want to see it that often, but when you do see it, you'll know when to use it. It's got an activate main sparking 7. You look at the drop area. You
nuke an energy.
You nuke one of your energy.
Yep.
And then you choose a Broly whose cost are 6 or less from your drop area, and you play it. And this card actually can play under
Frieza Prison.
Frieza Prison with his Live to Fight Another Day because
you can just chill on 2 energy.
You just chill on 2 energy the entire time, and it's fun. And he can't really do anything about you after that because you've got a big body on board, and he's like, well, I just have to play defensively here. We play 3 copies of Wrathful Charge. I was playing this at 4, but I cut it down to 3 so I can add in the 3rd copy of the 1-drop Broly, so that way we could see him when we needed to. This is, you negate the attack, and then you can send one of your battle cards in place of the drop area to make your opponent discard a card. This also helps with the Broly chain, and if you need to get stuff off the board before you awaken. And this also combos off really well with the parries. Next negate we play is 2 copies of Shocking Deathball. Really good card for if you need to help awaken faster for whatever reason. Generally, you don't really need to, but it's also really good against Vanilla Coup, trying to just snipe off stuff off the board so that way he doesn't pop your stuff when Goku leaves play, so you just hit the 8. And then we play 2 copies of Preemptive Strike. This one was my favorite card from Clash because if any of you guys have ever played Yugi, this card is basically your solemn warning. Anything that's 4 or less that gets played off of anything, you can play this in response and it doesn't get played at all. Also to note, if your opponent plays, World Peace, and they're bringing in a card that's 4 and you play this in response to World Peace being played, it just doesn't come out. Mm-hmm. And then for our yellow package, which is very small, you play 4 copies of Cold Bloodlust because this card is dumb. Your leader just so happens to be a Frieza's army. And we play 3 copies of Crusher Ball just to help with the energy charge and if we need to tap something down when it comes out.
So, Dende Agents of Destruction being the hotness right now. Dropping Crusher Ball or Preemptive in response to Boo's auto is a pretty big deal, right?
Yeah. Because you might not be able to survive that many attacks.
Yeah. Cool. And you got a sideboard for us, right?
I do, actually. This sideboard was something that we just kind of were like, well, this could be good against that. But we played 2 copies of Crisis Crusher Son Goku. Really good against Vanilla Coup. It stops their onslaughts when they're putting them out a bunch of 1-drops, and you start poking stuff off the boards to start poking off their 8. And the fact that he brings this up down to a 1-cost in hand while you control no battle cards is really helpful. Next, we play 2 copies of Tau. Tau's good in the mirror match for Wrathful, and it's also really good against Slug, because Slug happens to be a thing, and if he's making you discard a card, you're going to make them work their stuff. Just because you can. For removal, we're playing 2 copies of Banisher Few. You overwhelm for him, which is fine with this deck because you can generally just put stuff back in your drop area to refill your sparking abilities. But in the mirror match against Broly, when you start warping out their pieces, they can't get them back, so they can't recur them with Tragic Awaken or anything like that. And a free 20k double strike is not that bad. Next, we play 2 copies of Whis. This is the Borgos of yellow, because while he's up, when your opponent would untap anything, you get 2 sack and energy that they control.
It's an all-star in the Super Shinron matchup, as long as they don't open Crisis Crusher.
Right.
The deck's broken.
Next, we play 2 copies of Godstrike Beerus. This is one of those cards that people really need to look out for, especially if you're swinging it for game. Like if you drop a Scientist View on your opponent and they swing on it, if they have got 2 energy up, be wary of this card because they just drop it and neg off the double strike. And if you dump your entire hand on this, they just take the 1 hit.
And it's not too hard to keep 2 energy up in this deck, honestly. Once you get the chain going, you're pretty good.
Yep. Next, we play 2 copies of Battering. Because it's Battering, you just want your attacks to stick. And then next, we play... I don't have them on me currently. We play 2 copies of Father Son Kamehameha. This is the card you sight in the mirror, because you can start poking off their bigger stuff, because generally by the time the chain goes off, they're only sitting at either 2 or 3 energy. And since everything is 4 or higher, it's really easy just to snipe it off the board. And if they don't have anything that's going to chain, their board's completely empty, and then you can just go on from there.
Thanks, Kate.
Thanks, Kate. And then lastly, we cited in the third copy of Shocking Deathball.
All right, man. Cool. Well, guys, be sure to leave us a like, comment, and be sure to subscribe.